Well, I was told, you know, like at a very young age to learn, first thing was to learn the melody to every tune, which I feel is like ultra important. You know, most bass players, most musicians, you know, not just on the bass, but on their particular given instrument, will usually play just the bass part or just the piano part. I mean, the same thing goes for piano players. They should know the bass part too, at least, you know, or whatever.
Right.
But the main thing is the melody, I feel, that most bass players like are missing. Because like they'll know the bass part, you know, or whatever, they'll be playing that stuff, and there could be a melody on top, which once you know that, especially when it comes to playing changes, you know, harmonic playing, it's like, let's say like Bach, like canons, where there's like two parts. There's a bass part and there's a melody part. They're just as important because the chords come in the middle.
One supports the other.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, in fact, one helps the other. By hearing another part, you can more or less define where your part's going to be. You can fill the holes up.
Well, plus it's really great to be able to play a melody to a tune. I mean, how many guys can play, you know, on the bass, you know, let's say, most people, let's say the...
Let's tie in terms of what you studied. Obviously, you mentioned Bach canons. What else did you study, and how does this all come together under the heading of musicianship?
Work. You're just staying out there. In other words, you know, applying it. Okay, let's say so. For instance, I just said learn the melodies. So, what I tell all my bass students when they first start off is, hey, let's you know, learn the melodies. Do you know the melody? Let's say to Alfie, as opposed to just the bass part. And, you know, I mean, that's, you know.
Right.
You know, etc.
Yeah, that gives you the feeling of the song.
Yeah, because then it, plus it's the most melodic way for a bass player to learn how to play melodic bass lines, is by, you know, playing melodically within the bass.
Was there anything else you studied other than Bach? I know you spent a lot of time studying Bach.
Well, I got into that a little later. What I first started studying was, you know, let me see.
Oh yeah. You got into the funk.
What was on the radio.
Yeah.
That's what I first started playing. Like, for instance, that was Funky Broadway, the bass line. You know, Wilson Pickett's Funky Broadway, so.
Tommy Cogbill.
Exactly, it's Tommy Cogbill. So doing that stuff is how I learned, listening mostly to radio, keeping my ears open. You know.
Now, were you reading music then?
I didn't start reading until I was older, because I was always playing. And this is a good point, because anybody that's born with a real talent to play, a natural talent to play, which, you know, I feel I have been, and most all good musicians, you know, that they are born with that talent. To be able to go out and play, they usually can play before they really study. You know what I'm saying? You go out.
Yeah, get the feel of it.
Yeah, you're out doing gigs and that sort of stuff. And then finally, when it came time for me to learn how to read, when I wanted to learn how to read because I couldn't, and it was really, you know, it was really a drag because I already could play. You know what I'm saying? So for me to have to go back and learn how to read was really a pain.
So obviously you learned, because with your web report, the stuff that you did was extraordinarily intricate.
Well, I was reading way before I got with web report.
Obviously you had to.
Yeah.
But you got to such a high level of reading, you know, to be able to do that at the same time. What did you use to get to that point?
Well, believe it or not, it sounds corny, just hard practice. You got to put in lots of hours because, like I said, you get fed up, especially for the young players that can already play. I mean, how many guys you know on the street and they all say, wow, yeah. I say, how's your reading? Well, I can read a little bit. Hey, what do you mean a little bit, man? If a guy says that, you know he can't read.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's
you got to sit down and practice read. It's hard. I mean, I used to spend hours a day just with any book I could get a hold of. Treble clef, any clef, bass clef, of course, you know. But just any type of music I could get my hands on just to get in it.
How'd you get into playing the bass? I know you played drums earlier. Can you tell us that story?
Well, I was in a band called the Los Olas Brass. It was like a funk rock band, you know, play rock roll, a lot of rhythm and blues. All the hits, you know, Aretha, from everything like from the Tijuana Brass to you know, the big, you know, soul hits of the day. That's basically what we were doing. We had like 6 horns and 3 rhythm. I was playing drums, and I had broken my wrist very bad playing football. And the bass player in the band, you know, he wanted to split. So I just went to the bass. You know, I went from drums over to bass, that was it.
To be able to pick up an instrument and play with it in a week's time means you have to have some kind of learning skill, okay? And to take it to the next step, not only have a learning skill, but develop to execute such, you know, flawlessly as you do.
Well, the main thing is just paying attention to people on any instrument. For instance, you know, like you look at a guitar player, you just, you know, look at another bass player, just see what he was doing. That's how mainly I learned most everything.
So it's visual.
Visual as far as just technique. Let's see, you know, because I would see, one thing my father told me once when I first started playing the bass, he came home, he saw me, and he said, just to put my fingers, space them just like at every fret. You know, I mean, because I was just playing. You know what I mean? I was playing like that, you know, and with, you know, I mean, that's how I was playing the bass, right? So then he said, you know, so I would, you know, because I just put my, you know. Okay, so that's like spacing your fingers just by the fret. Is as big of a thing that you could do, and alternate your fingers accordingly. You know, I mean, it's just very basic.
Well, it certainly has worked. Now, as far as like getting into little details of this aspect, this left-hand spacing, okay. But what about the what other aspects of the left hand? Because your intonation is, I mean, to play fretless bass. First of all, intonation has to be right on it.
Well, one thing, for instance, right now I'm using a fretted bass. How I got my intonation on the fretless is by, first of all, I never practiced a fretless ever because the strings would always eat the neck up. So I would only play it on gigs. But see, when I would practice with the fretted bass, it's harder actually to play a fretted bass than a fretless because of the fret noise. So I would, you know, but I would play it, and you play exactly on the fretted bass where you do on the fretless. You just play, you know, I mean, you can play here in the middle, it doesn't matter because the tone's going to come out. But and that's where you get the best sound also on a fretted bass. I mean, if you want to get into it. Clearer, exactly. So when you go to fretless, and seeing that I had taken my frets out, you know, I had little, the marks were still there because I put Duratite, some sort of wood putty in there, right? So you could see that, which helped too, you know, because, you know, the fretless, or Fender bass, excuse me, you know, it's got such a long neck. Like on the upright, you got position. You just go this far, and you're in the thumb position. You know, you can feel the neck.
Right.
I mean, you got to go about this far. You know, I mean, it's a long way. You got to look at the neck if you're making big jumps. So, you know, that helped a lot having the fret markers. You know, where the holes were filled in, and then practicing scales. You know, just straight scales, gets your hand in shape so that once you start off someplace, you know, once you get on the first note, you can go for a long time without having to, you know, check yourself out if you're playing in position. You know what I mean?
What about this twilight zone area up here, where everybody finds it hard to play because you can play the same thing back here that you can play up here? How'd you work that up? Because you know, a lot of your playing in this solo area of the instrument, you know.
Well, different ways of doing scales. For instance, if you just go. See that? I came all the way from that low C. We're in the key of C. There's a low C, there's a high G. Okay, now this is all without moving my hand once. You see what I'm saying? And it's all right there. You know what I'm saying?
All in one position.
Okay, then there's other ways. See, because most bass players, for instance, this is something that I've been doing the last few years. So you go, you know, taking like, going up to the third, then you got, you know, fourth to the sixth, you know, then major seventh, then you'd be the ninth. By that time, you'd be up to the 12th already. You know what I mean? It's like, that's very convenient as opposed to, you know, the way you usually would learn. See, I mean, that's how most people probably originally learned with
that's
it. Making the
smoother approach.
Well, that's normal because that's the way from up here, like you were saying.
Playing on less strings. Yeah, that makes a big difference.
And to have skipping, you know, skipping from string to string, like good exercises are like sixes. Most people don't practice sixes. Like, you see what I'm saying? Where you're alternating a string before you're even going anywhere else. You're already jumping.
How about your endurance? You have incredible endurance.
That's just from years and years of gigging. That's all. I mean, I used to play 8 sets a night every night when I was a kid, you know, for a year at a time without a night off, that sort of stuff. That's just playing a lot.
You were playing in R&B bands then a lot then?
Yeah, just playing like rhythm and blues all night. Because I never really had to practice all that much for endurance because I had it from playing so much. Like in fact, I do most of my practicing without even an instrument, just thinking it. Because my chops, you know, from so many years of playing.
Well, that's where your musicianship really comes to the fore.
Yeah, well,
you can do that.
I'm just lucky enough to have, you know, grown up in an era when rhythm and blues was really at its forte. I mean, that's when you were doing most of your stuff, like with Atlantic and everything. And that's the people, the style of music that people were into when I was growing up. So there were lots of dance gigs, you know, playing R&B and funk, and then sneak some jazz in on the side, whatever. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. What about the use of arpeggios in terms of developing fingerboard memorization?
Well, that's the greatest. You know, plus it's just about the hardest thing to play, in my opinion, on the bass. Like piano, for instance, it's easy. But on a bass, guitar, that skipping, that, you know, just, that's tough. One way that I teach cats is just 2-octave up the board, like this. Okay?
Yes.
I mean, this way your hand is moving every note. Okay,
As
every
opposed
note
to
is
playing it in position.
Yeah, as opposed to just going, let's say.
In that position.
Yeah, as opposed to going. You know, because you go, as opposed to doing like an easy skip, like, as opposed to doing that, or I go.
You get up much faster.
You can get there real fast. It's smoother, but it's tough, and it teaches you where the notes are on the fingerboard. You got to be thinking every note where. Okay, and then what you do is you run that stuff. I don't even know if I can do it anymore. Wait a minute.
Now, double stops is another thing I find is really helps you learn the fingerboard also.
Well, because you have to think 2 notes at a time all the time.
Multi-stops.
Yeah.
So your exercises seem to be more or less in terms of like mental, in terms of developing things that make you
That's
think.
ultra important, because that way you can, especially in improvisational music, you know where the stuff's at to go for, as opposed to just jiving, let's say, where people are just wiggling their fingers and know a couple of licks. I mean, this way we're talking about, you know, the real deal. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see what the arpeggios really pay off at, because you play a lot of things in thirds, large
plus,
intervals.
But plus going up and back with them too. Here's a good exercise. You know, so what I'm saying is, now all I did was go up in a major, you know, let's say a 7th, well, what would you just call it, a chord? It's a arpeggio, a major 7th arpeggio, so it'd just be, let's say, because I'm doing everything in C now. So it would be C major, D minor 7, E minor 7.
Come down F.
F, you know, and then you go up on a G7, right? Then you come down on the A minor, up on what actually would be like, what do you call it, the dominant 7th chord, a G7 without the G in it.
So you're using a diatonic use of the scale, playing the chords, but you're using it in a very musical way instead of going up, you know.
Oh yeah, not making it a practice, make it actually, you know,
make it musical.
Exactly, that's very important.
And it reflects in your playing also.
Well, I always try to be musical, yeah, but, well, you know, sometimes it does. I hope not all the time, you know. But, I mean, there's things to practice, you know.
That was just a whole
tone. That was just a whole tone scale, alternating fingers with different numbers, you know, just like making maybe patterns of 3 and 4 notes at a time, or 5 notes at a time, you know, like a 1.
I noticed that while you're playing, you vary your left hand position and technique. Can you explain a little bit of that?
Well, lots of times it's got to do with just a tone I'm going for. Sometimes I'll like bend strings, which you got, you know, like a guitarist, and sometimes you know, depending on, especially on the fretlets, let's say, sometimes I got different ways of just getting different tones out of my vibrato, you know, and when it's, and most of all, it's just whatever's comfortable. Tell you the truth, you know, you know, because sometimes you'll be playing, you know, you change your hands to get, that would actually have something to do with the, what'd you say, my endurance even. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you just change your hands to get it different, so you know, like your left shoulder ain't breaking
right.
halfway through.
Change the muscles
yeah,
up.
Yeah, exactly. So that's got a lot to do with it. Just part of the endurance.
Left hand. Now, of all this left hand execution, you're getting your sound, I know, from your left hand, but your right hand also amplifies the sound. I know sometimes you play in this area, high above, at the end of the fingerboard, you play over this pickup, you'll play here, you'll play here. You play everywhere on the instrument. It's like you play all the music, you play all the bass. You know, how does this affect the sound? What are you doing when you're doing this? What are you going for? You're playing back here, so.
Well, the main thing when I'm playing in the back is when I'm playing fast for speed, okay? Because needless to say, the string is not as taut here as it is here. So the main thing is this just doesn't move as much. So it's quicker. Up here, see that?
Slower.
See what I mean?
Yeah.
Back here, that's all the further I'm going. Use your thumb too, you know, for double stops a lot. I use my thumb. Up here, you get a more rounder tone. See? There's a harder.
And when you're playing, What about picking technique?
First of all, let's start at the beginning of picking.
Okay.
So it's just, which is the hardest thing. It's just, just alternating your fingers. That's the toughest thing with the right hand to begin with. You know, so. That alone is as hard as anything you'll ever have to play on the bass, and then doing it with the other fingers too, which I can't even do.
Opposite.
Yeah, and then like, see how that, I'm coming back right then, I just rake them coming back. When you rake something, if you want to rake the string, in other words, then you're gonna have to mute it down here. You know what I'm saying? Exactly.
The left hand.
Otherwise, it's just gonna be, you know, it's easier when you're picking something because
the hand is already there.
Yeah, so what you do is you just lightly, you know, after you pick each note, you just take the finger off on your left hand, and then it's short, you know, because otherwise you just have.
You don't want that.
Exactly.
You don't want that.
So then, what I do is just, that's where like scales come in, just over and over.
Now you're incredibly clean. Your sound is like, there's no added noise. So it's like you're, with playing the bass.
No, that's a combination of both hands.
Uh-huh.
You know, the good picking, but also the good muting with your left hand.
Left hand muting.
Left hand muting. Yeah. Like Donna Lee. I mean, it took me years. It took me 9 years to learn how to play Donna Lee, for instance. But most of that was not just, was mostly making the instrument not make noise. Excuse me. In other words, not making noise with between the left hand and the right hand. I mean, you know. I mean, that's tough. You know, so you got both hands really got to be working together on that.
Together.
A lot of it is with the left. I only pick with these two fingers. These other ones are always like muting somehow. Like they'll be sitting here. You see what I'm saying? Like when I'm playing, these will be sitting here, usually like this, something like this, to prevent your right hand from making the noise down here. That helps here. Okay, because basically you could do, you know,
with one hand.
You know, anybody said, but now you heard the noise that I was just getting.
Exactly.
So, you know.
So the right hand helps you mute that.
Exactly. It's basically just laying it down is all it is. And these two fingers are usually taking care of the G and the D, and this is usually taking care of the E. Because, you know, you probably do lots of playing on an A. See, that's where most of the best bass tones are at. Right. Sorry. So also is a good thing, like this is not my normal bass. I got a precision bass neck on here deliberately to have to stretch my hands. Well, you know, because the jazz bass neck is thinner, which I usually play on stage. But you know, this is good. It's good to practice on something because like coming down, you saw me, and I was starting to like scuff up a little bit, man. But you know, it's good because it makes your fingers stretch. Anyway,
playing that pattern. Now you're playing a 6-note pattern there.
All I'm doing, I was just playing, I think I started on a G. G minor, 12th, I don't know, what 9th, 10th, yeah. I mean, you can, that's about as much as you can do to really stretch your hand. And then the other thing I was just coming down with, then I was going up, the next note's going up major with a flat 5 then. Right. Then go back to the minor again. Just something to think. You just play a minor, major, minor, major. Well, they're not scales. Those are arpeggios, but it's just something like to think about the neck, where all the notes are. Getting back to what we talked about earlier, knowing where all the notes are on the neck. You know, like my father said to me once, he said, "Jaco, look, I'm going to come back in a year." He was on the road, he says, "and I want you to know where every note is on the neck. You know, if I say I want a C sharp on your G string, a high one, you better know where it is, you know." And when he came back the next year, I knew it. You know, I mean, because I know cats that can really play, and they don't even know where the notes are still.
Yeah,
you know.
So your father's a musician also?
Yeah, he's a drummer and a singer.
All right. Terrific. So you're basically self-taught then?
Formally self-taught.
Formally self-taught. Thank you. What about rhythm? I noticed, like I mentioned before, you were playing a 6-note pattern, and I was able to tell between playing a 6-note pattern, a 5-note pattern, a 4-note pattern. Do you feel this is part of your fast development, having a good feeling and knowledge of rhythm?
Well, rhythm is the whole deal, you know.
Thank you.
So, you know, like I always say, women in rhythm section first, you know. So, you know, just play with the drummer. That's the thing, you know. I feel that the bass player, not being prejudiced or nothing, I feel that we have the most important role in a band because we have the harmony and the rhythm, you know.
And sometimes the melody.
And the melody too, but mainly the harmony and the rhythm we got, because whatever note we play on the bottom is going to change any chord up, you know. And rhythmically we're pushing, you know, or laying back, whatever.
So you say play with the drummer.
That's what I really look forward to doing. That's what I have the best time doing.
How did you arrive at your distinctive sound?
I would say probably just the years of playing, like being on gigs mainly. And lots of things that have to do with the sound, as opposed to not just the sound, is your choice of notes. There are, you know, different choice of notes, let's say, that I use often. And people know, like, I wrote this tune on Barbary Coast, and I start off, wait, it goes, edit, it goes, okay, so lots of times in my playing, I'll be going like, you know, I'll just, I mean, people might know that's me just because of the choice of notes as opposed to just the sound. You know, there's certain figures that everybody plays.
And the rhythm also in that, because that's a rhythmic figure there also.
So choice of notes has a lot to do with it too, because the choice of notes makes you pick different, makes you go for other things, you know.
What about harmonics? Now, that's something that you pioneered. I mean, instruments have had harmonics on them forever, but you have like almost as if you went into a mine and, you know, gotten gold out of something that wasn't there before.
Well, when I was first playing in bands, a friend of mine, I saw him just tuning his guitar with harmonics, which everybody does, and so that's how I learned how to tune my bass. You know, it's real tough to figure out, right? So I was just doing this. Sounded like music to me, so I just kept exploring it. That's all there was to it. You know, I said, wow, that's the chord on Alfred Hitchcock, which it is when the cellos are in fourths, you know. So I said, solid, it must mean something. Wow, there it is. I told you I haven't done it in years.
Does it make a difference which instrument you play? I mean, if you would play on this instrument, would it be the same thing?
I can play it on any instrument. That's no problem. As a matter of fact, it's funny. Most people say, wow, it's because he plays a fretless, he gets such great harmonics. There's nothing to do with it. As a matter of fact, it's easier with a fretted bass because you could play more false harmonics in tune without thinking.
Now, how is that false harmonic achieved?
I do it with my thumb. It's the same thing as the open string, see? In other words, okay, so if you play any note, all you have to do is make as if you're playing an open string. I mean, that's how I thought to start doing that with the false harmonic. So let's say if I'm playing an A, you just separate it in half. There it is, perfect. Wait a minute. It's the same overtone series, just like a trumpet or anything. It's those are basics. There's your octave. Then it just keeps going up. It's got the seventh in it. It's a basic overtone series. It's no mystery. It's just I pick it with, like guitarists, for instance. They go like this, something. I put my thumb here and pick behind it.
Pick behind the thumb.
Yeah, I put the thumb up here.
And
guitarists do it like this somehow. I don't know how they do it. I just go like this.
You're getting the same note out.
So it's the same difference if I went, right? Let me see, I gotta get right in half. See what I'm saying?
So the thumb becomes the open string? Is that what happens? The thumb?
No, this becomes your left hand.
The left hand becomes the open string?
This becomes what this finger would be over here. Your thumb is doing.
The thumb takes the place of the left hand fingering.
Yeah, and then you just happen to be picking right behind it, like. So then, like what I used to do. Well, what I used to do is. See, so every time you're picking, you got to be moving everything. That gets tough. See what I'm saying? You have to make sure that you're picking. That's the hardest thing. You got to be moving. I mean, that much, yeah.
Hand. In Portrait of Tracy on your first solo album, you used harmonics exclusively. Could you play a little bit of that for us?
Okay. I haven't played this in years. I don't really remember it. But
no excuses.
Hey, wait a minute. This ain't an excuse. It's a fact. I forget. There's a little segment in the middle, but it's easy. Like, let me see how I go. I know it. I remember that. Let me see. Wait. Out of shape, man. I forget what I do then. Something.
Remember the end? The beginning.
Everybody
and the
thought
end.
that was overdone. That's for real, man. Yeah, man.
You're definitely
That's
for real.
tough. See, I did the same thing I was talking about up here with F sharp, a B, and an E here. Got the E in the bass. Then I went up to the third, just as if I went to the B of the G on the open string, right? And just so then I got G sharp. Then I got D sharp, then I got A sharp. So I got like a flat 5, major 7 flat 5, or E major 7 flat 5.
Now would you We were talking the other day about listening to the radio and you learning everything that was on the radio. Out of all the music you listen to, which music you would influence more by, and what particular players, if any, that you might have come across?
Mostly popular music. Elvis Presley, Beatles, James Brown, Sinatra, whatever. At that period, that's when I was coming up. Like, let's say the 60s. Whatever was like hip then, that's what I was checking out. Mostly from the radio, whatever you see on TV, that sort of stuff. And I really wasn't influenced that much by bass players. To tell you the truth, I didn't even know who the bass players were most of the time.
That's true, they wouldn't tell you.
You just knew who the singer was, you know. So mostly like off 45s. So, but like players like yourself, for instance, you were on a lot of those Atlantic dates, out of Muscle Shoals, etc., New York. A lot of Aretha dates, that stuff knocked me out. So you're a big influence. I know Bernard Odom was. He played with James's band. Bootsy used to play with James's band. And Cool, I like Cool, he was great.
Jameson?
Jameson, of course. Duck Dunn.
Yeah.
Those were like, my big influences. Then with the upright, into the jazz thing, like Paul Chambers, of course, and Gary Peacock, I liked a lot. And,
what about Mingus?
Mingus was great. I didn't hear that much of his bass playing. I mostly heard his orchestral stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I always loved I loved his bass playing, but I always loved his music even more.
Yeah, his writing was something else.
Yeah, I feel you're at that level also where like his writing is like even going beyond, no matter how great a bass player you are, your music just goes even beyond that.
Yeah, Mingus was great. I really liked him a lot. And all the cats that were on all the records, Paul McCartney, I love his bass playing. All the cats, whatever was out there.
Doing it.
There was some good stuff.
The marketplace.
Lots of records too. Harvey Brooks, with the Electric Flag, and Billy Rich with Buddy Miles. That whole period of stuff was fantastic.
Great. Can you give me one example of any particular style, something that stuck with you out of all those people you mentioned?
Not Zed.
Okay.
Thanks, Jay. No,
Okay.
that was Jerry's bass part with B.B. King. What tune was that on?
Could have been one about 4 or 5. It was a Live and Well album.
Yeah, on Live and Well.
One of those Live and Well, one of those pieces.
Where there was no real musical prejudice. There was all sorts of music. Everybody was playing everything from Cuban music to symphonic music, everything. Whatever you wanted to hear, you could hear it. You know, like in New York. I know when I...
Great musicians, especially bassists. How do you distinguish between JACO style and, let's say, the normal bass player?
Right. Well, when JACO is normal, you know, his style is different, you know. It's very, what you might call, unnormal. You know, he's very different. You know, when he tries to solo, he comes up with new ideas as much as possible. He's been playing for quite some time, but he strives for new ideas all the time. So consequently, playing with him is always a surprise. It's a surprise, you know. That's part of what makes it beautiful to be on stage as a jazz musician, as a musician who improvises, is that there are surprises.
Now, what do you think of when recording as opposed to performing? There is a difference in thought. Or do you differentiate between the two? Does it make a difference when you hit the stage or you go into the recording studio?
I see a big difference, personally.
See a big difference? Could you run it down?
Well, when I go into the studio, I definitely have to have more of a plan, you know, because it's something that you're making for that idiom. There's definitely a difference. Musically, there's not that much of a difference, but the way that you behave before you get there, you know, like I would never practice before a gig. You know, but I mean, I practice all week for this to make sure my fingers could do technical things for this particular thing, okay? If you're doing a record date and you know some of the music in advance, you be thinking about it and you make sure your chops are ready to cover it. So there is a big difference. When you're doing your gig every night, you know, man, third or fourth tune, you're gonna be warmed up. you're gonna be hitting. You know, once a couple tunes you in there, and everything is gonna be all right. But recording, there is a big difference, in my opinion. I don't know, Kenwood, what do you think?
When you play live, the audience is right in the present time with you, you know, with you as you play.
So you can play off of the audience in
Right.
that sense.
Well, we've done several, excuse me, we've done several albums with Weather Report, for instance. Most of that stuff everyone thinks is live is us playing in front. We're in a studio, but with like a studio big enough to also have a small audience in there too. So you also are, you got the best of both worlds.
Slapping the bass, a lot of fun and really used quite a bit nowadays. It's a good technique and it's not that hard to learn. Mostly, you'll need to learn how to use your right hand differently and really start thinking percussively. The first step is to find the octaves, because most funk slap bass lines are built off of octaves. How do you do that? It's a simple formula. As always, let's start with G. Say that's our root, and we want to find the octave to it. Just go 2 strings up and 2 frets forward. And that's the octave. It's the same note, an octave higher. We use the octave quite a bit in slapping, and it's really effective. So take some time to look at your neck, find any note, like D, go 2 strings up, 2 frets forward, find the octave. Once you have that down, you'll be able to move on to the other sections easier. Now let's concentrate on the thumb, which is handling the slapping part of the slap pop technique. The thumb is going to be like a hammer hitting the strings, and you're going to focus your hit right on the little bone of this knuckle here, this joint. You want to hit that right on the part of the bass where the neck joins the body. And you want to make quick attacks where the thumb doesn't lay into the string like that. It actually hits and pulls out. Now let's just make sure you're getting a good thumb tone. You want the notes to ring freely, be very bright sounding, and have a good pure tone. You don't want this. What that is the thumb's laying into the string and not allowing it to vibrate. So you want to hit it quickly and with some energy so the string really kind of jumps to life. Let's try hitting each string twice open. 3, 4. Each day that you practice, just do that. Practice playing each open string and make sure the notes are full and long. That's some good basic thumb technique. Now let's concentrate on the popping aspect of playing. With popping, you're going to use your index finger. You're going to curl it just slightly under the strings and snap them up away from the fingerboard. That should look like this. There's no real rules except for when you actually combine that technique with the thumb. What you don't want to do once you integrate both the slap and the pop is you don't want to make them separate actions. Make them one action. When the thumb comes down, the finger should be in place to pop as the thumb comes up. So it's down, up, down, up. See how that was one action? It wasn't 2 separate actions. This will help increase your speed and your hand strength. So when you practice this, put on a metronome or drum machine and look for consistency in the way you make your hand motions. Make it a good, simple, energy type feeling, and you'll get a good percussion out of it. Let me now show you some variations that you can do instead of just playing thumb, pop, thumb, pop. Occasionally, you can play 2 thumbs, pop, thumb, pop. If you want ideas, listen to the way a drummer will play his bass drum and then his snare drum and match it, thinking the bass drum is thumb, the snare drum is pop. So let's do a simple 1 thumb, 1 pop, 2 thumbs, 1 pop, and keep it in time. Here we go. A string, E string, now you have the basic technique. Let's apply it to a progression. When you play the progression, you're going to have to play some open strings and some closed strings, but that's okay. We're going to start with E. The octave is on the 2nd fret of the D string. Then you'll play F sharp, and you'll play G. Then you'll play an open A. The octave's on the G string 2nd fret, B, C. Then we'll start back at the top again. Rhythmically, what I'd like you to do is start off by just playing even. Let the notes ring. You're going to play twice as long on the G and on the C than you do on any of the notes. You'll hear it. The second time through the progression, I'd like you to play 1 thumb, 1 pop, 2 thumbs, 1 pop, as we did before. So it'd sound like this. Concentrate on really locking the thumb in with the bass drum and the pops with the snare. Let's go ahead and try it with the sequencer. 1, 2, 3, 4. The variation. One, two, three, four.